Peace, peace, peace. It's your boy Juice Wanna with another episode of Smoke and Jokes, where we discuss today's topics while indulging in the greatest of herbal essences. And today's show is brought to you by, alien berries. I'm getting low. You know what I'm saying? Getting low on these alien berries. So, as we get into this, I'm going to go again, as you can see in the title, right? The book of Job. So now we're into chapter 9. Now, this right here is a very revealing chapter, right? This is going to connect you to everything that you're reading underneath. The Epic of Gilgamesh, the Jews, the celestial planes. We're going to be dealing with a lot. We're going to learn how, to make God, basically. The making of God through this text right here, right? So, let me bring this up. Now, I'm going to be away from y'all most of the time. I'm not trying to showboat on this. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm going to be away, and I'm going to let you just see what I'm talking about, right? And bring up this backdrop here and take me away, right? So it goes. Then Job answered and said, I know it is of a truth, but how should man be just with God? If he will contend with him, he cannot answer him 1 of 100. He is wise in heart and mighty in strength, who hath hardened himself against him and has prospered. Which removeth the mountains, and they know not, which overturneth them in his anger, which shaketh the earth out of her place, and the pillars thereof tremble, which commandeth the sun, and it riseth not, and sealeth up the stars, which alone spreaded out the heavens, and treaded upon the waves of the sea, which maketh Arcturus, Orion, the Pleiades, and the chambers of the south. Now, I'm going to get into from 7 through 9, which I'm going to read to you again. It says, which commandeth the sun, and it rises not, and sealeth up the stars, which alone spreaded out the heavens, and treaded upon the heavens, and treaded upon the waves of the sea, which maketh Arcturus, Orion, the Pleiades, and the chambers of the south. Now, as we're going to get into this, one would have to first understand. Let's get into this here. Hold on. All right. The celestial equator, or the great circle of the imaginary celestial sphere on the same plane as the equator on Earth, right? So let me zoom in here real quick. I don't know. Let me take myself away, right? So I can give you a quick description, right? When we think about, directions, right? We think about, the North Celestial Pole, basically meaning the North Star, right? So this is where you find yourself when you lost. You follow the North Pole or the South, pole. And now from that you have the orbiting direction, right? The elliptic, center, like basically the equator, right? So this is your equator, and this is how it circles around the sun. But there's also a second spinning, and this one is on the planet itself, and that's the celestial equator. the celestial equator is basically at a tilt, right? That tilt at this point in time is believed to be 23.44 degrees of, the epiclinic plane. So this right here, right, this is how it's spinning around the sun, and this is how it's leaning to the side and spinning. So the reason why I'm saying this is because it'll describe how you see the night sky, right? And who sees what determines based on, this spinning, and who's able to see what, because not everybody can see the same thing due to blockings and of the planet and, the sun and stuff of that nature. So let's go on, right? So I just wanted to give you that. These are for people who understand, how to observe the night sky, because that plays a big part in the storytelling that was just asked by Job, right? So now inside there, just basically telling you how to identify the night sky through these basic sections, these broken up sections in the sky called zodiacs. Now, these zodiacs will tell you basically where you were at in the night sky. It's like you ever seen, what's the name of those little, it was like this toy where like you put your face in it and it had like the pictures and it would spin, and as it spin you would see, like if you look at it you would see the pictures. So it's basically that concept of the night sky, right? So I'm trying to think of the toy. I'll put it up. I'll put a picture of it. Babylonian astronomy correlate early observations and divinations into sets of Babylonian star catalogs. During and after the Khazaric rule over Babylonia, these star catalogs, written in cuneiform script, contained lists of constellations, individual stars, and planets. The constellations were possibly collected from various other sources. The earliest catalog, 3-star each, mentioned stars of Akkad, of Muru, of Elm, and others. Various sources have theorized a Sumerian origin for these Babylonian constellations, but an Elamite origin also has been proposed. A connection to the stars' symbology of Cassiat, Kuduru border stones have also been claimed, but whether such Kudurus or really represent constellations in astronomical information aside from the use of the symbols remains unclear, right? So then we're going to get into, the star catalogs after 3-star each, right? So we're going to get into the 3-star each first. 3-star each. The first formal compendia of stars listed in the 3-star each text appearing from about the 12th century BC. They represent the tripartite division of the heavens, the northern hemisphere belonging to Enlil, the equator belonging to Anu, and the southern hemisphere belonging to Enki. The boundaries were at 17 degrees north and south, so that the sun spent exactly 3 consecutive months in each third. The illumination of stars in the 3-star each categories include 36 stars, 3 for each month. The determining graph for constellations or stars in these lists is Mu, originally a picture graph of 3 stars, as it was a triplet of Anu sign. The Pleiades were referred to as a star cluster or stars of stars in the list, written as Mu Mu or Mu Mu. Right. So now we're going to go into the Pleiades. Now, the Pleiades, also known as Seven Sister Stars of Messier 45, is an open star cluster containing middle-aged, hot B-type stars in the northwest of the constellation Taurus. It is among the star clusters nearest to Earth. It is the nearest major objects to Earth. It is the cluster most obvious to the naked eye in the night sky. All right. So then we're gonna get into the Mu Alpan. But for this, I really just wanted to start from the Babylonian star catalogs entered Greek anatomy in the 4th century BC via Exodus of Cundus and others. A few of the constellation names is used in modern astronomy can be traced to Babylonian sources via Greek astronomy. Among the most ancient constellations are those that mark the 4 cardinal points of the year in the Middle Bronze Age. The Bull, Taurus, also known as the Steer of Heaven, marking the vernal equinox. Basically, the steer meaning it's time to start farming, people. It's time. The Leo, the lion marking summer, meaning that you can eat off the land. You good. You the lion. You can rest. You good. You know what I'm saying? The Scorpio. Now me, I'm just assuming the Scorpio represented, danger, the sting. You're about to feel it. You know what I'm saying? If your ass don't act right, if you don't start stacking up, you about to fucking feel it, because this is autumn. You know what I'm saying? You see the changes. So then you got Capricornus, the goat horned, or goatfish, marking winter solstice, right? It is a magical hybrid depicted on boundary stones from about 2000 BC as a symbol of air, right? That's when you look at the epic, if you ever look at the pictures of Epic of Gilgamesh, which I'll put up, you'll see with the goatfish, this hybrid is. Well, anyway, the goatfish, I'm gonna say, also represents the storing of food, the meat and fish for the winter seasons, right? The winter season, should I say, the winter months, right? So now we're gonna get into the Mu Alpine, right? Is a conventional title given to a Babylonian composium that deals with many diverse aspects of Babylonian astronomy and astrology. It is the tradition of early star catalogs, the so-called 3-star each list, but represents an expanded version based on more accurate observation, likely compiled around 1000 BCE. The text lists the names of 66 stars and constellations, and further gives a number of indications such as rising, settings, and cumulation dates that help to map out the basic structure of the Babylonian map. The text is preserved in a 17th century BCE copy on a pair of tablets, named for their inceptive, corresponding to the first constellations of the year, Mu Alpine, the plow, identified with stars in the area of the modern constellations of Caspia, Andromeda, and Triangulum, according to the compilations of suggestions by Gosum, and Kukum, right? Now, mind you, this is a note that there's a guy that's stating that the constellations suggested do not relate to the place of the plow and the wolf in the center of the these Germans zodiac. Hence, he suspects the above authors are incorrect in the wolf and the plow at the poles of the regions in the center. I just wanted to throw that in there. You don't want to give everything with this, set idea. You want to give open so that way somebody else can add in, right? So then let's go to parts. The text runs in 2 tablets and possibly a third auxiliary tablet and is organized as follows. Tablet 1, descriptions of the static sky, catalog of astriums, inventory of the sky, date of holistic risings in the Babylonian calendar, simultaneous rise and settings, times intervals between holistic risings, Zekpu estriums are in the path of the moon, motions and planets. This is tablet 2, changes in the sky, motions of planets in the lunar path, determining cardinal points of the year, holistic risings and wind direction, planets visibility, intercalary rules, shadow lengths of the sundial, water clock, and omens. Now let's get into tablet 1. The first tablet is the most important resource of any potential reconstruction of the Babylonian star map, as its various sections located the constellations in relation to each other to the calendar. Tablet 1 has 6 main sections, right? All the major stars in the constellations are listed and organized into 3 broad divisions according to celestial latitudes, allocating each star to 3 paths. Right? Now let's get into these 3 paths real quick, right? You see the paths right here, right? Enlil, Anu, and E. These are the 3 gods who are seated in heaven permanently, right? So you see the paths that they are taking. The Babylonian globe, no matter whether or not it existed physically, would have divided in 3 paths of the gods: E, south, Anu, plus 17 degrees around the equator, and Enlil, northern cap, all the declarations 17 degree. These 3 gods have their seats among the stars represented by the constellation Cancer and Iku, Pegasus, right? So now let's go here, right? Then we go the northern path of Enlil, containing 33 stars or constellations. The presumable equatorial path of Anu, containing 23 stars or constellations, and the southern path of E, containing 15 stars or constellations. Most of the stars and constellations are further attributed to a variety of Near Eastern deities. The path of Anu is considered as a belt around the celestial equator with a width of roughly plus 17 degrees that is divided in 23 equal parts or 30 degrees length, representing ideal months. Right? The holistic rising datings of 34 stars and constellations are given according to the 360-day ideal calendar year. List of stars and constellations that rise set at the same time. the number of days between the rising of various stars and constellations. The stars and constellations that rise and accumulate at the same time. The stars on the path of the moon being the major constellation close to the ecliptic, which includes all the Babylonian forerunners of the zodiac constellation. I had to bring that back there, sorry. Okay, so it goes, even though the Babylonians used a lunar solar calendar, which added an occasional 13th month to the calendar, Alpine, most text in Babylonia, astrology, uses an ideal year composed of 12 ideal months, each of which was composed of an ideal 30 days. In this scheme, the equinoxes were set on the 15th day of the 1st and 7th month, and the solstice on the 15th day of the 4th and 10th month. Okay, so now we have an understanding of the tablets and basically how they outline the zodiac and the understanding of the seasons. Now we get into tablet 2, right? It goes tablet 2. The second tablet is a greater interest, is of greater interest to historians of science, as it furnishes us with many of the methods and procedures used by Babylonian astrologers to predict the movements of the sun, moon, and planets, as well as the various methods used to regulate the calendar. The content of Tablet 2 can be surmised under 10 headings as follows, right? The name of the sun and planets, and the assertion that they all travel the same path as the moon. Now, let me get into this. Now, keep in mind, at this time, people believed that they were following the moon. Like the moon dictated everything. The sun, I don't know, it was just passing by or some shit. So you wasn't moving around the moon. The sun, you was revolving around the moon, based on the phases of, the moon and stuff like that. So I just wanted to give that clarity. Right? Which stars are rising and which contain the full moon on the solstice and equinox in order to judge the disparity of the lunar or solar cycle. Recommendations for observing the appearance of certain stars and the direction of the wind at the time of their first appearance. Very approximate values for the number of days that each planet is visible and invisible during the course of its observational cycle. All right. The 4 stars associated with the 4 directional winds. The dates when the sun is presented in each of the 3 stellar paths. 2 types of intercirculation scheme. One uses the rising dates of certain stars, while the other uses positions of the moon in relation to the stars and the constellations. The relative duration of day and night at the solstice and equinox, and the length of shadow cast by the nonum at various times of day at the solstice and equinox. The basic mathematical scheme given the rising and setting time of the moon of each month. A selection of astrological omens. Okay, here. Now let's go here. Right? Now I want to take the time to, since we broke down, how the calendar was basically broken into 360. That's where you get the degree of a circle. A complete circle being 360 degrees is based on this. But even that finding is proven to be wrong if we're basing 360 degrees on a year where there's still slight miscalculations and they have to add days, weeks, or months to the calendar, right? So let's get, and that's where you get like a leap year, a leap day, or no, a leap week, a weekday, and even a leap month, right? So let's go. It goes into calculations or embolism is timekeeping in the intersection of a leap day, week, or month into some calendar years to make the calendar follow the season or moon phases. Lunisolar calendars may require intercalculations of both days and months. All right, so here we go. Let's get into the function of the text. Mu Alpan is considered an early known compendium of astronomical knowledge, right? The compiled list in text might have different origins in Mesopotamia. List 2, 3, and 4 on tablet 1 seems to originated from different traditions in making the calendar. List 2 starts with the rising of the constellation of the Arrow stars around Sirius, while list 4 all rising dates refer to the rising of Supa. Let me see if I can bring this in. I think this is too far from y'all. Okay, so let's see. Referred a rising of Supa, star in the vicinity of Arcturus. Remember what we said about Arcturus, right? These two bright stars have both been used to determine the calendar. The two lists of Mu Alpine perfectly map on each other, although real observations have error bar of 5 days. This suggests that the data had been made to fit or had been read from a globe, if it existed, which has no archaeological proof but is an appropriate hypothesis and is highly likely after the 4th century BCE when it is proven in Greece. There is no guarantee that the Babylonian globe really existed, but for today, the best visualization of the Babylonian urology is the full sky map or celestial globe. Right. So now we can take a quick look at the celestial globe, right? So they saying it starts from here, the stars, the 7 gods, hired men, right? The shallow, right? So you got this right here. So these are the sections, right? So you got the top section, you got the mid section, which determines your the zodiac, and then you got the lower section, right? These are the 3 parts of the universe as mapped out, right? The map of the Babylonian sky celestial equator divided in 12 equal parts, ideal months, constellations as polygons, because only estimates of their position can be derived from the preserved data. Pingree's identification of constellations, path of Anu marked in gray, path of the moon brighter than other constellations. Similar maps have been published in Hoffman 2017. Right. So now let's go over here and let's get into this. The data in Mu Alpine represents no observable time unit. The day and month in Mu Alpine are ideal days and months, i.e., fractions of the surreal year that are obtained by dividing the length of the lunar month by 30, or the number of real days per year by 360, depending on the context. The year circle on the celestial globe is the celestial as polygons because only estimates of their position can be derived from the preserved data. Pingree's identification of constellations, path of Anu marked in gray, path of the moon brighter than other constellations. Similar maps have been published in Hoffman 2017. Right. So now let's go over here and let's get into this. The data in Mu Alpine represents no observable time unit. The day and month in Mu Alpine are ideal days and months, i.e., fractions of the surreal year that are obtained by dividing the length of the lunar month by 30, or the number of real days per year by 360, depending on the context. The year circle on the celestial globe is the celestial equator. Dividing the celestial equator by 360, we obtain the degree of right assertion, Ra, equaling the Babylonian unit of us, or one span, or one ideal day. I'm going to get into a span in a second. A group of 30 ideal days of this type forms one ideal month. Thus, we can visualize the ideal month on a celestial map at the celestial equator. According to these schemes, the dates of the holistic risings and setting of Mu Alpine are given. Now, before we go into that, let me break down this one span. All right. Now, when you read things, you come across things, and if we're going to do a mapping in time, right, we should know how this mathematics and all of that was performed, especially in that time. So a span, right? Let me take me away again. Is the distance measured by a human hand from the tip of the thumb to the tip of the little finger, right? And like this, right? So this is a span from the tip of the thumb to the tip of the little finger, right? Little finger. In ancient times, a span was considered to be half a cubit. Sometimes the distinction is made between a great span or full span, thumb to little finger, or little span or short span, thumb to index finger, right? These, this is a short span, index finger or index finger to little finger. So this can be a span or this can be a span. You see what I'm saying? This or this, dependent, right? And those are little spans. Okay. So then let's go. So here it goes. According to these schemes, the date of holistic risings and settings in Mupan are given as ideal dates. Let me see. Wait a minute. I got to zoom this in here, right? According to these schemes, the date of holistic risings and settings in Mu Alpan are given as ideal dates. A statement like Supa rises in the 15th of month Ululu, 6th month, would mean rise at the 15 plus 6 star 30 degree right assertion 195 Ra. So basically, this is where you would find, that star. Ill mathematics there, right? Then it goes the accuracy of the numbers. The uncertainty of observation of the holistic phenomenon is 3 to 5 days because the rising itself is a process that needs at least 2 observations, not seen on one day and seen on the subsequent day. Now, let me say something. If you know anything about Islam, like, especially when it comes to Ramadan, right? It begins by the sighting of the stars. So the Islamic calendar is still holding on to the old calendar. So sometimes it makes you wonder, is the fight between Islam and Christianity also a fight over the stars and who is claiming it, right? Who is claiming the gods, right? In case of cloudy, let me go into this. It goes, in case of cloudy weather, the scene can be shifted by a couple of days. The contrast of the celestial background in twilight might change due to climate and weather conditions. Indivisibility of the contrast star Venus background. Depending on the astronomer's personal vision, groups of up to 14 observers have been working in Groups of 14 observers have been working in Babylon, but still the visibility depended on their personal skills and weather conditions. And Mu'alpin, almost all cases of holistic phenomena refer to constellations and not to single stars. Possibly the brightest star in the group was observed Pars Pro Toto. But if the brightest star is closest to the horizon and another one is much higher up in the darker sky, the fainter one could be visible first. A constellation area always has a first and last star rising daily motion, and thus could be defined by 2 stars. Both stars would have an uncertainty in their observation of 3 to 5 days, which means that the constellation is determined only when the uncertainty of 6 to 10 days of constellation is determined only with an uncertainty of 6 to 10 days. Indeed, the data of Mu'alpin is given in day numbers that are always multiples of 5, probably implying that this was its uncertainty, reconstruction, and coordinates. Taking only the constellations' names and assume that the Babylonians certainly knew that they did what they did and considered the definition visibility of the first star of the group. We can estimate the position of constellations roughly. However, the uncertainty of the observation means that we can estimate the position constellations equal rising at a given ideal day, which translates into points coordinated with computations, only within an error bar that extends to the diameter of its area. So now let's go. Now this is the accuracy of the numbers. So then let's go to Path of the Moon. This is the pre-zodiac. These depictions have been created for various opportunities and planetariums. They are based on the standard knowledge of astrology and some studies especially dedicated to the identification of these constellations, right? So this is the Mul Alpan and the associated god according to the list, right? So we got Mul Alpan, many stars or star clusters, the Pleiades, which is Anu, right? Which is the god Anu. But you know, as you can see, the renaming when they called it the sister stars, because you have a the woke community, they're running around and they're saying that a group, which there was a group, but this came after, so they're going off of that premise of ladies first. Okay, so Sugi, right? This is the old man, and Lil, right? The crook. This is all, basically his section, right? And then, again, this is all inside that section. Then we got Anu, right? And his section, right? And then we got, the section, right? And then we got the Anu, right? So these are the breakdowns of the zodiac, right? So then it goes, okay, there are other constellation names which can be traced to Bronze Age origin, including Gemini, the twins from, right? Mu, Mas, Taba, Gal, the great twins, Cancer, the crab, right? The crawfish, among others. So the Mu Alpan gives a catalog of 71 stars and constellations of the three ways of the 3-star each tradition. The star names prefixed with Mu are listed with the associated deity prefix on it, right? And often some other brief emphasis, right? Dates of holistic rising, pairs of constellations which rise and set simultaneously. Time and intervals between dates, so the solar calendar, the planets and duration of their solar conjunction, stellar risings and potential positions for predicting weather and for adjusting the calendar, telling time by length, so this is what I read, basically they just gave it a little more. So then let's get into this. Now I'm not gonna lie, this is what I've been waiting for, right? This is what I've been waiting for, people. This is it. This is where we can start seeing what was in reference at that point and how this is all going back to the Epic of Gilgamesh, the story, and how this structure was determined on how society was ran. By laying out the stars, you lay out the society, believe it or not. Like, what you say, like the Lucifer, like as above is below, you know what I'm saying? So the way you dictate the skies is the way that you dictate the people on the ground. So let's go into the Path of the Moon as given. Let me see here. Let me take myself away again. Right? Zodiacal constellation. The Path of the Moon as given in Mu Alpine consists of 17 or 18 stations, recognizable as the direct predecessors of the 12 zodiac signs. In the beginning of the list with Mu, the The Pleiades, corresponding to the situation in the early Middle Bronze Age when the sun at vernal equinox was close to the Pleiades in Taurus, close to the 23rd century BCE, and not, yes, Aries. Okay. So then we go into moon, right? Let me see. Now you should be able to see this stuff here, but if you're not, let's go here. Sumerian is moon, Zapu, star clusters, star of stars, or the Bristol, right? And then it goes the Pleiades, right? So these are just basically the signs and what they mean. So we just gonna go from translation to Western equivalent. Okay, we'll just do that. You can look it up yourself. It goes the bull of heaven, the Taurus and Hades, the loyal shepherd of heaven, Orion, the old one, Perseus, the Sycamore or the crook, right? Ogura, the great twins, Gemini, the crayfish, Cancer, the lion, Leo, the seed, Pharaoh, the Virgo, and the scales, Libra, right? So now I want you to pay attention to this, right? Because we're going to get deeper and deeper, right? The cutter, Scorpius, the god, Pleiades, or the overseer, Sagittarius, the goatfish, Capricorn, the great one, Aquarius, the tails, Pisces, the great swallow, South Pisces, and this is the goddess Anunnaki, or the stag, Pisces, Anaconda, Andromeda, right? The farm worker, Aries. Now, all of this plays a major part. So, let's get into this. It goes the tale of the great swallow. Items 15 and 16 above have also been read as a single constellation, the tale of the swallow, Pisces. This is the source of the uncertainty over the number of constellations 17 and 18. The Babylonian zodiac, all constellations of the Iron Age, 12 zodiac signs are present among them, most of them with names that clearly identify them, while some reached Greek astronomy with altered names. Thus, Pharaoh became Virgo, Pleiades, Sagittarius, the Great One, Aquarius, Swallowtail, Pisces, and Farm Worker was interpreted as Aries. Virgo and her main star scepter have Babylonian precedents. The moon Alpine associated Absine, the pharaoh, with the Sumerian goddess Shala. And on bounty stones of the Khazid era, Shala is controversial, depicted as holding the length of grain, regarding Sagittarius. Pleiades is a comparative, obscure Sumerian god, later identified with Ninnutra. Another name for the constellation was Nabu, the soldier. Aquarius, the water pourer, represented air, the water god, dubbed the Great One, and the moon Alpine, it contained the water solstice in early Bronze Age. In Greek anatomy, he became represented as simply a single vase from which the stream poured down to Pisces or Aquarius. The name in the Hindu zodiac is likewise Kumbha, water pitcher, showing that the zodiac reached India via Greek intermediaries. The current definition of Pisces is the youngest of the zodiacal constellations, the shallow. The Babylonian astronomy included the western fish, but was larger as it included a well parts of Pegasus. The square of Pegasus was the constellation of the field, shown with the Deidre's zodiac between the two fishes. The northern fish and part of Andromeda represented the goddess Anunnatum, the lady of the heaven. Late Babylonian sources mentioned also Du-Nu-Nu, the fish cord. It is unclear how the farm worker of Mu-Alpine became Aries, the ram of Greek tradition, possibly via associated with Dumuzi, the shepherd. Somewhere around the 5th century BCE, Babylonian astronomical texts began to describe the position of the sun, moon, and planets in terms of 12 equal space signs, each associated with a zodiacal constellation, each divided into 30 degrees, thus expand. This normalized zodiac is fixed to the stars and totals 360 degrees. So let's get into the Babylonian calendar. The Babylonian calendar was a lunar. Wait, let's see here. Make sure you can see this. All right. It goes. The Babylonian calendar was a lunisolar calendar with years consisting of 12 lunar months, each beginning when a new crescent moon was first sighted low in the western horizon at sunset, plus an interstellar month inserted as needed by decree. The calendar is based on the Sumerian third dynasty of Ur. Predecessors preserved the Umar calendar of Shanghai 20th century. All right, so this is the Sumerian, right? The way they calculated time, right? Concept cycle, ratio. So this is a great year. This is just a regular year. Now the great years, like the Mayans. So this is where you see this travel, and I'm gonna get into all of that later. But year, month, day, watch, right? Gez, cubits, right? Then you got your units and all of that stuff here. So now let's get into months, right? The year begins in spring and is divided into Res Sati, beginning, Misil Sati, middle, and Keet Sati, end of the year. The word for month was Erhu. Construct states Aha, whatever. The chief deity of the Assyrians is assigned the surplus intercalculary month, showing that the calendar originated in Babylonia and not later Assyrian times. During the 6th century BC, Babylonian captivity of the Jews, the Babylonian month names were adopted into the Hebrew calendar. In Iraq and in the Levant, the Georgian solar calendar is used with these names replacing the Latin ones as Arabic names of Roman months. The Assyrian calendar used in an example also the Turkish month. These were inspired by the Ottoman Rumi calendar, itself derived from the Roman Julian solar calendar, despite appropriating the mere Babylonian name. Their months are not equivalent to those of the Hebrew and Babylonian lunisolar calendar. Okay, pay attention to that. Okay, so now let's once again get into it, because now we are about to get into the zodiac signs through the Babylonians. Through the Babylonians, how they mark the night sky. And this is where it all opens up, people. Here we go. Right? It goes. Month of, let's see here. I want to make sure y'all see this. Month of beginnings. Bell. Argu. Aries. This is the zodiac sign, right? So we just gonna stick to these two right here. This right here. Months names. Presiding deities and zodiac sign. Right? Month of blossoming. The Taurus, right? Then we got the Gemini. I don't know what whatever, the sin, right? Okay. Month of Tammuz, right? The Cancer. What is this? Gilgamesh. Number 5 is Gilgamesh, the Leo. Wait, hold on a minute. Let's slide over here. Let's keep going. July and August, right? Julius Caesar and Augustine, right? And who's next? Who do we have here? For month 6, Ishtar, the Virgo, right? And who do we have here again? Augustine. Oh, so that's why a lot of people would say that, you know, Christianity is gay and the J needs to be removed, because the J in this, it comes from July, which is Julius Caesar, and Julius Caesar, which I guess is supposedly Jesus. Like, you know, they're trying to imply that that's Jesus. And August, right, which would be, right, Ishtar. So the original months would go to Gilgamesh and Ishtar, which I also told you is, you know, the whole basis of this whole show, where we are talking about the book of Job and how it's associated with Gilgamesh, how the Bible is basically a redesign of the story of Gilgamesh while giving historical evidence to prove it. It left the clues right there for you. It clearly left it and said, it asked, when we go, let me come over here now, right? Let's go back now. Hold on. Let me see. Right, so I'm gonna keep going real quick. So it gives you the other months, right? It goes, the month of beginning, the start of the second half of the year, right? Which would be Libra. That's why it's the scale, right? The month, the 8th month, which is Murdoch, right? Which is another god. These are the gods after a while, right? These are the gods up in the sky. So when you see these names and you see them associated with people, you come to the understanding how to make a god, right? How to set this up to control the people, right? This is why they on TV, you know, on movies and you hear, or even musicians, they called stars, right? Bigger than life, who has been put up on this mantle, right? This is the making. So the making of Julius Caesar as a god, the making of George Washington, the making of Gilgamesh and Ishtar to become gods and goddesses. placing them in the sky to last forever. So let's go now. Hold on 1 minute. Let me make sure. So we got the last one here, right? Until the 15th century BC, the calendar was fully observational. But beginning in 499 BC, the month began to be regulated by a lunar solar cycle of 19 years, equaling 235 months, although usually called the Metonic cycle after Meton of Athens in 432 BC. Meton probably learned of the cycle from the Babylonians. After no more than 3 isolated exceptions, by 380 BC, the month of the calendars were regulated by the cycle without exception. Number 17 in the cycle, when the month Ulu 2 was inserted. During this period, the first day of each month, beginning at sunset, continued to be the day when the new crescent moon was first sighted. The calendar never used a specific number of days in any month. Okay. So I wanna like this right here. See, I really wanted to go back a bit because I wanted to get into basically what Job was talking about, right? But I'm gonna keep it pushing, right? Because I wanted to pull up the when he was talking about the Pleiades and laying it out, and this was all in reference to the system that was set up. Like, you were not above this system. He who can control this controls the people. So he was answering. The answer is, at this time, I guess, would have been Julius Caesar, right? So, counting from the new moon. This is days. Counting from the new moon, the Babylonians celebrated every 7th day as what? A holy day. Let's get into this, right? Let me move myself, right? It goes days. Counting from the new moon, the Babylonians celebrated every 7th day as a holy day, also called an evil day, meaning unsuitable for prohibited activity. For these days, officials were prohibited from various activities, and common men were forbidden to make a wish. And at least the 28th was known as a rest day. Each one of them offerings were made to a different god and goddess, apparently at nightfall, to avoid the prohibition. Marduk and Ishtar on the 7th. Ninlil and Nergal on the 14th. Sin and Shamesh on the 21st. And Enki and Ma on the 28th. Tablets from the 6th century BC. Reigns of Cyrus the Great and Cambius the 7th indicates these dates were sometimes approximated. The illumination of 29 and 30 days where we at? The illumination of 29 and 30 days basically contain 3 7-day weeks and a final week of 8 or 9 days exclusive, breaking the continuing 7-day cycle. Among other theories, the Sabbath origin, the Universal Jewish Encyclopedia of Isaac Lansom advanced a theory of Assyriologists like Frederick, whatever, that Sabbath originally arose from the lunar calendar containing 4 weeks ending in Sabbath, plus 1 or 2 additional unreckoned days per month. The difficulty of this theory including reconciling the difference between the unbroken week and the lunar week, and explaining the absence of text naming the lunar week as Sabbath in any language. Now you understand that when I say the Epic of Gilgamesh, when I say the Jews, and when I say Babylonia, I'm saying one and the same. The Babylonians are the Jews, or in Babylonia is a group of Jews. Now, all of a sudden, they claim themselves to be, prisoners of that place as they move outward. I'm going to leave it as that for now. But I will be getting deeper into this because, like I said, from this one piece of information in the Bible, your world will open up just by doing the research. So I'm going to slide out for now. I'm going to end this one because, I don't want to hold y'all up. And it's going to be a part 2 where I get even more deeper into how the Epic of Gilgamesh, how the Babylonians, and how the whole Bible plays a part. And it's all open from the first book of the Bible, which is Job. Okay, this is your boy Juice Winner with another episode of Smoke and Jokes, where we discuss today's topics while indulging in the greatest of herbal essences. Today's show is brought to you by no other than Alien Berries. Yes, Alien Berries. Because make no mistake, these fruits are foreign. Peace.